All you have to do is search GameStop within the past 24 hours, and there's just a whole lot going on. Here, let's just read one of these articles. GameStop CEO Ryan Cohen took to X on Tuesday to blame wokeness and DEI for the retail chain's impending exit from Canada and France. The company, which managed to survive the pandemic thanks to the meme stock frenzy, has closed more than 700 stores since 2020. In a release, GameStop said that as part of an evaluation of its international assets, the company intends to pursue a sale of its operations in France and Canada. Shortly thereafter, Cohen took to X with his comments on wokeness and DEI. Email M&A at GameStop.com if you're interested in buying GameStop Canada or Micromania France, he wrote. High taxes, liberalism, socialism, progressivism, wokeness, and DEI included, at no additional cost if you buy today. According to a recent article, the company as of late 2024 had more than 200 stores in Canada and 647 in Europe. What do people have to say about it? Well, it's a pretty interesting topic. 4chan users are saying that they shouldn't have filled 90% of their stores with Funko Pop shit. For example, this entire thread is just an argument about physical versus digital, where they should implement PC parts because it's one of the only viable paths they have nowadays. There's no point to physical games now. There's a lot of people that would say physical games are still very important, especially when games can still when companies can still cut you off because you're only buying a license to the game and not the game itself, that sort of shit. But then there's people that come back and say, oh, well, if they can do that, then it's the same as putting in the disc. You're still accessing that shit, so they could still do that. What about Reddit? What does Reddit have to say? The official r/GameStop Reddit even made a thread about it. I mean, to be honest, I had no idea this guy was even anywhere near right, at all. He didn't really give me that vibe. But again, I also didn't really care that much. The last thing I heard about this guy was people FOMOing into GME whenever it was, a giant fucking amount per share, and exchanges were halting purchases of it, which people are still pissed about, and which made them move platforms, actually, if you remember that. Anyway, this entire thread here just seems to be shitting on Cohen and saying, oh, well, he's an idiot, he's a moron, this and that. Don't listen to him. What's interesting is this guy here is saying that the pro membership sales pitch is getting more desperate. Hey, it makes sense. You don't think they're gonna do this shit whenever they just heard that, probably a quarter of their stores are closing entirely, come on, dude. Cohen's Canadian himself, and, he's closing stores in his native country. You know what I'm saying? Shit's getting crazy. They actually have multiple threads up about it, and this writer is talking about how he can't imagine that Australia and New Zealand has a lot of time left either. Here's an interesting take. I really thought Canada would be the last foreign operation to go due to its proximity to the US. But he replies with, I don't see why it would last, but then I don't see how GameStop stays open in the US either. I have only gone to GameStop a handful of times since the pandemic. I keep reading that too. Nobody's going physically out to these stores, especially GameStop. I don't remember, I'm pretty sure it's been at least a good handful of years since I've been to GameStop myself too, so yeah. Every time it's either empty or there's maybe one other person shopping. I think I've bought 2 games there in the last 5 years. Most of the times I've gone, it's just been walk in, browse, leave empty-handed. Yeah, that's my experience. In Canada, we have Amazon, BB, and Walmart offering big games, and if you want more selection, there's VGP and P&P as well. There's some big Canadian stores that ship nationwide. GameStop shipping also blows, so even buying online from them sucks. Their online store sucks, and the physical store is full of bullshit geek merch I can't imagine anybody cares about. I'd pretty much use any other option than GameStop. However, he goes on to say that in Australia, GameStop is viewed as the specialist games retailer. That's interesting, but in Canada, that it's not. Again, this is from some fucking guy. Nobody knows who this guy is, so take it with a grain of salt, right? But, I mean, to be honest, I really would believe it. Now, this is interesting. Employees are actually talking about quitting over this recent tweet. That's insane, man. Well, not really in the long term when you think about it. People protest over all sorts of things, from literally about anything they want to. They take a stand for anything they want. So it's not really surprising in the long term. But I mean, just wow, man. I didn't think this would have that much repercussions. Anyway, the opinion here is just really overwhelmingly negative, man. Like, goddamn. They also talk about how shit the packages, or I'm sorry, the ordering, like the shipping is, which we just read about. So I mean, corroborating that story. If we go back to 4chan for a second, it says that, well, one poster says they've been dying for at least a decade. Only gay shit like Reddit doing coordinated stock buys, like I mentioned earlier, has kept it afloat. Their business model was shit, especially in the era of e-commerce and digital storefronts. Last time I went in was probably a year ago, just to see if anything had changed since the 5 years before. Nothing had. They were still opening up new games, slapping a bunch of stickers on the front, and throwing the disc or cartridge in a pouch behind the counter, and leaving the empty box on a shelf. Fuck GameStop. And then they talk about how mom and pop stores can come back, but they're kind of an evil themselves because they charge hundreds of dollars for a game. Like, come on, dude, I get it. You want to sell collectibles and like, oh, this item is so rare, it's mint condition. It doesn't mean you have to sell me a game for fucking $500. That's more than the console itself. Well, the console itself nowadays, or you want to pick up like a PS1, you're probably going to be paying close to 500, maybe more. It's sad, man. Unless you can find it used somewhere. But I mean, like, Jesus Christ, dude. Pick a side, like necessary evils and all that. Like, what do you do? According to this post, they already sold their chain in Italy, Germany, and Switzerland. GameStop is literally over. That's interesting. However, this guy is defending them, saying that a lot of people still do rely on GameStop. Dude, I live out in the fucking sticks, okay? If you can't find a GameStop, then you go to another store. You go to Walmart, for example, you go to any other fucking store and they'll probably have your game. And if they don't have your game, if it's some obscure indie fucking game, you could go to a mom and pop shop. Go to anywhere else, okay? Try to find it online, okay? There's other options. Nobody really relies on GameStop in this day and age. Like, come on, dude. It's dying. It's not doing good, okay? If this was the 2010s, maybe early mid 2010s, they might be on the downtrend. They might still be doing good, but we're firmly in the 20s now, and they're not doing good, okay? Their last real big thing was the fucking pandemic when their stocks went up. And then it crashed, like it came back down right after, but I mean, like, that's the most recent thing, right? And with the CEO putting out really fucking harmful tweets like that, it's no wonder why, that's just, fuel for the fire, right? Well, I don't know how much more I can say about this useless fucking shit, but hey, if you're interested about any of this, then, well, I'm glad to have informed you a little.